Oi, bom dia, pessoal. Eu sou Debbie Pridemore, sou supervisora de EFT e estou aqui com Gail Palmer e hoje vamos falar sobre certificação no processo de EFT com ICEEFT. And so, Gail, I just said we're here today to talk about the certification process, and I'm here with Gail Palmer to talk to us about it. And Gail is one of the founding members of ICEEFT, and she's on the ICEEFT board. She, along with Allison Lee, review the certification tapes, and she has been involved in the certification process from the very beginning. And she is an amazing trainer as well. I've been to some of her trainings, both with families and couples, and she's a wonderful trainer and just so knowledgeable. She's been with ICEEFT for a really long time. And so, yes. So I often, when I see your work, Gail, I remind myself, I'm like, okay, Gail has been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, a few decades. Yes.
Yes. And so, but she's also very kind, right? So that's part of what I love about Gail is she's so gracious and kind as well, and wonderful to hear
Very
from and learn
sweet.
from. So
Thank you, Debbie. That's very sweet. Thank you.
well, so Gail, I've talked to some of our Brazilian therapists, and they have some questions about certification. And
Great.
so, but first off, why don't we talk a little bit about what the differences are between the old requirements for certification and the recent changes to the requirements?
Okay, so that's a great place to start, Debbie, and thank you for inviting me. I feel like
Absolutely.
I'm feeling like I'm having a connection with Brazil,
Yes,
and yeah,
absolutely.
and that's lovely because it's lovely and warm when it's cold and snowy here in Canada.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. It's a great
so
place to go during the winter. It'll be nice and
exactly.
crispy there.
Exactly. So basically, the changes have evolved from Sue's new book, Attachment
Okay.
Theory and Practice, where she looks at the interventions of the EFT Tango across the three modalities, right? Individual, couple, and family. So that emphasis on the tango that comes in the text then has helped us really focus what we're looking for in certification.
Okay.
So we're really looking for the EFT Tango as it evolves in stage one and what it looks like differently because it's deeper in
Sure.
stage two.
Yes.
So that's really the basic change. And I think that actually it's helped a whole lot to have that kind of focus. I mean, it's helped us just in terms of, really knowing what to do in every single session.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. It simplifies it so much.
Yeah, yeah, it just is so lovely.
Yes.
But it also helps in, I think, therapists preparing their tapes for certification and for us on our end to be able to look at the application and know, what we're looking at, in
Yes.
a very simple, clear, focused way.
Right.
So
Yes.
yeah, I think it's really helped, from both sides.
Yes, just to really clarify. And it is, as I work with my supervisees and we can say, okay, do we have, move one of the tango, where's move two? Or oh, we forgot to do move four. So that's what we need to work on next, and so it
Yeah.
really does help give some clarity there.
Right. Yeah. And I guess the postscript, right, to that is that, there are 5 moves of the tango, but there's 20 minutes of
Yes.
session that, the, therapist is submitting.
Yes.
So I want everyone to know that we don't expect that you're actually going to get all 5 moves,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Especially, maybe move 5 in stage 1,
Yeah.
or even, in stage 2 when the process is a lot slower and the pace is a lot slower, you might not get to move 4 even.
Sure. Right.
In that 20-minute section. So what is more important is that not that every single move, right, is included, because then you become EFT robots, and that's
Right. Yes. That's not what you're looking for either. You're not looking
no.
for this kind of rigid, you know, doing the different moves in a rigid way.
Yeah, we're looking for, because this is an experiential therapy,
Right.
is an organic process. But it's very clear when we're looking at tapes that we can see the therapist is guided by the tango,
Yes.
right? That
Yes.
they're using those interventions. So just a post note, right?
Yeah.
Don't obsess about getting every single
Yes.
move.
Right. That is good. And then maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but then maybe in the write up, you would say something like, and then, next I would move into processing the enactment, or,
Mhm.
or I wasn't able to get this part. I'm planning on working that on the next session, or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the beauty of this, is that we want certification to be a learning process,
Yes.
right? It's the journey. It's
Yes.
not, yeah, it's not the goal. So even going through the transcript, right? You're going to be learning.
Yes.
We learn from looking at our work, and a transcript, there's nowhere to hide. It's right there.
Yes.
And being able to include your self-reflections on your work, just helps us see that what you're doing. You can see
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Yes, right. Yes. Now I remember when I was certified, I put something in there about, oh, when I was processing the enactment, I was so focused on the wife getting a positive response back to the husband that I actually misattuned a little bit. Right. And so I put that in the transcript and said, I missed this, and I would do it differently next time.
Yeah,
So
that's beautiful.
yeah,
That's beautiful, because we're not looking for perfection.
right. Yes.
Yeah.
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 And so, yeah, so that's really important to remember. I'm so glad that you mentioned that it's, we're not looking for perfection here.
Yeah.
We're looking for, what would you say, the lens that you're looking through as you're watching videos? Because I get questions of like, oh, how do I know if the video is good enough? So what would you say that lens is that you're looking?
Well, attunement, alliance,
Yes.
right? And leadership, focus
Mhm.
of the session. Focusing on emotion,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
All of those are sort of the key elements
Yeah.
that need to be integral
Yes.
to what is being submitted.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That attunement, to be able to see that you're attuned with your clients, you have a good alliance, so that even if you do mess up in certain places, you can get that alliance back,
Yeah.
and focus on emotion and attachment. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
those
great.
are the essential elements, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Mhm.
Um, and so tell us a little bit about the differences between what you're looking for in a stage 1 video versus a stage 2 video.
Right. So, I mean, stage one is, a more, y- the tango is focused on both partners, because we're moving between both partners.
Mhm.
So there's oftentimes a tango with one partner, and then the shift over to the other, and maybe a start and a tango there too. So
Yes.
it's moving quicker,
Yes.
and the tango is making sense of the cycle
Mm.
that the couple is caught in. Maybe what's underneath the positions that they take when they're
Mhm.
stuck with one another. So there's some new moves that are happening, but they're not deep moves, right? They're
Right.
getting underneath the reactive behaviors and the secondary emotion. And we're asking, and I think this is a big difference, is that we want enactments
Mhm.
to occur in stage one.
Okay. You want to see an enactment in the stage
Yeah.
1 video.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's taking a small piece, right, and
Mhm.
having them share it. And
Mhm.
even if it goes sideways, that's what happens in stage one.
Right, yes.
And the therapist then knowing how to take care of that. right? How to,
Right.
if there's a reaction from the listener or an exit from the speaker, being able to hold that space
Yeah.
and make sense of it.
Yeah.
Um, and even in a move 5, you might be doing that. Look what just happened here,
Yeah.
right? You turned and shared, you started to share your sadness, and then you looked at your partner's face and something else happened. It's kind of like what happened, it's kind of what happens in the cycle.
Yeah.
So that's so typical of stage 1.
Mm,
That's what happens.
yeah.
And I think that people not being afraid to use an enactment and using it appropriately in stage 1, meaning that you're taking small steps.
Small steps. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not jumping into the deep end,
Right.
right? Because you're not there. The
Right.
foundation hasn't been built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. No, that makes so much sense because I do hear a lot of times after people have been either only through externship or have just finished all the core skills, feeling that pressure to have those, beautiful, vulnerable, Hollywood responsive moments in their stage 1 videos. Like, no, you don't need to. That's
Yeah,
not stage 1.
that's not stage 1. Yeah. Our couples come in distress,
Yes. Yes.
right? And super stuck,
Yes.
and maybe with trauma underneath.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's, being able to have a slightly different new experience of
Yes.
themselves or the other is what we're looking for in stage 1, but it's small.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And I do want to take a moment to just acknowledge that my cat is making noise in the background. So I apologize for that. Yes, I am at home and this is during COVID still, hopefully not for long, but
Yeah.
yes. Okay. And so that's great. And so then in stage 1, those um, show working the different moves of the tangle, but in not quite as deep of a way as you would in a stage 2 video. You're taking
Right.
small pieces, getting underneath the reactive behaviors, maybe connecting them to their self-protections, to the ways they cope, and an enactment.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the goal is different in stage 1,
Yes.
right? We're working, our therapeutic task is cycle de-escalation. So the goal in the tango, where you're going, is different. It's trying to, create an awareness of the cycle, what's different, right? How people get triggered into the cycle, what happens to their partner. All of those pieces
Mhm.
are part of what you're working on and when you're working towards cycle de-escalation. So having that as your task
Yes. Yes.
then helps guide the tango.
Yes. Okay. Great. Great.
Mm.
And so you're still working with the cycle, but not necessarily in the way that certification requirements were framed before. It was very much more focused on tracking the cycle and that. And so not as much emphasis this time, or just in a different way.
Yeah, it's I would say it's not in the foreground, it's in the background, right?
Okay. Yes.
That's a shift where the foreground is what the therapist is doing with the tango,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
Because we're actually creating, new conversations, even in stage 1, even if they're tiny, even if they go sideways, they're
Yes.
new. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Great. That's very, very clarifying. Um, okay. And so then for stage 2, what would you be looking for in the video?
Yeah. So stage 2 is deeper, right? Because
Mhm.
we're moving into the internal experience of one partner. So there's going to be more just focused on, it's like an mini EFIT session, right? You're
Yes.
going into one partner's internal world, and move 2 is bigger and more expansive
Yeah.
and deeper,
Mhm.
because where we're going is around model of self and model of other,
Mhm.
right? And the fears and longings that
Yes.
are associated with that,
Right.
right? So to get there we have to stay in one place.
Mhm.
And, we've got the safety of cycle de-escalation to allow us to do that. So there's more of a bigger move too, right? In stage 2,
Yes.
right? And, the enactment oftentimes is more like, the partner responds, and there is that more corrective emotional experience,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And, so that kind of the change event of actually going to the most frightening places,
Mm-hmm.
right? And being able to share and have a different response
Yes.
from the partner is what heals,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah. Okay. And so you really are lingering a lot in that move to, right, which is the assembling emotion, right? So you're really walking
Yeah,
around the emotion, deepening to kind of those worst fears, those scariest places.
right.
And yeah.
Yeah, and really connect to embodying those experiences. The person is, congruently um going into
Mm-hmm.
and not talking about, but being in.
Right. Yes. Experiencing those fears in the moment and feeling
Right.
it. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Um, and then sharing that with the partner.
Then sharing that with
Yeah.
the partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you might not necessarily in the stage 2 video get to a move 4 where you're processing the enactment, right?
Right.
You possibly, but not necessarily. If they don't get there, that's okay.
Yeah, because it may, be hanging out for, 15 minutes with one person in
Right.
one place, right?
Yeah.
To get to that really, tender moment
Mhm.
that then can be expressed in a clear kind of way, in
Yeah.
an open and vulnerable kind of way with their partner. Um, it might be very obvious how the partner responds, right? They might
Mhm.
just go quickly into, moving closer or saying, I feel so sad or
Yeah.
whatever, but you haven't had a chance to fully process with the partner
Yeah.
because it's 20 minutes.
Right. Just to get there. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And then can therapists send in 2 different sections? So like 5 minutes and then 15 minutes, or do you prefer the 20-minute
I
segment?
mean, it's both are acceptable.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, lots of people send in the one segment, but sometimes, it goes sideways and, we follow some and then we redirect, right? And it's like 10
Sure.
minutes down the line. So that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Okay. Well, let me see here. There were also questions about a cost of certification, and we talked a little bit before about sometimes
Mhm.
the cost for other countries is different, and it's based on the national gross income. Is that
Yes.
correct? Yeah. And so if a supervisor needs to find out for their supervisees how much is that the cost of certification, who would they ask?
Maura O'Neill at our Ottawa office would be the person to ask.
And that
Yeah.
would just be info@iceft.com.
Yes. Info. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't post each country's certification fee because they all vary,
Yeah.
depending on the country's national gross product. And there is a chart, but it's like a government chart that Maura looks at to determine what the fee would be for each country.
Okay. Great. Great. And there are also questions about who can I certify with? Does it have to be a couple? Can it be a family? Can it be an individual? So, what are the requirements there?
Well, I mean, our focus is couple.
Mhm.
And, if you're really going to learn how to work with couples, I would encourage and advise to send in 2 couple tapes, a
Yeah.
stage 1 and a stage 2.
Mhm.
There can be an exception made for a family tape in stage 1.
Mhm.
If there's, circumstances where that has evolved. But certification is in couple therapy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what we're saying. We're saying that you're certified as a couple therapist in EFT. Because they're systemically, there's a lot of similarities
Mm-hmm.
between couple and family, but they are different.
Yes.
And I would, and unless you've taken and been trained in EFT with families, wouldn't recommend to send in a family tape because
Okay.
there are differences.
Yes. Yes. Okay. And so if you did want to use a family for a stage one, you've had the EFFT training and you wanted to use a family for a stage
Yeah,
one, you could email and say, hey,
yeah,
would it be okay to use a family for one of my videos?
yeah.
Okay. Okay, great.
Mhm.
Well, I think those are the biggest questions that I had gotten from everyone.
Right. Well, I'm really excited that people are asking questions.
Yes.
Right. Because what we know about is that there's so much growth and learning that comes from certification, and our supervisors, yay, Debbie, are so good at helping, the therapist get there. Right.
Yes.
I mean, you guys are an essential part of the process. And yeah, I really appreciate you taking this time to help your folks in Brazil, right?
Absolutely.
And making that bridge for them. So yeah, it's great that you did that.
Absolutely. I know that certification can feel pretty scary when you're
Yeah,
first considering it, and it feels so big and unknown. And so things like this, which really break down, okay, what do I really need and how do I get there? And just some of those basics are helpful to help demystify it a little bit and say, no, this is actually achievable.
right.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
No.
And, these are the clear things that we need just to know that we're growing in the model
Hmm.
and have a good understanding of it and can be attuned with our clients, right? Those are the biggest things.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I think the dedication of, applying yourself for certification just naturally grows.
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, yeah.
You're being forced to show your videos,
Mhm.
right? So even if you
Yeah.
weren't before,
Nowhere to hide. Yeah. Yeah. But
yes, yes, yeah. You're watching yourself and showing it and getting feedback, and most of the time when I see my supervisees videos, I'm so surprised, like, oh my goodness, you guys are doing amazing, right? And
I
they don't even
know.
know, right? That, oh, I was actually doing that. Yes.
Yeah, I
So,
totally agree with that. Yeah, the tapes that come in are just gorgeous.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, lots and lots of really great work.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Gail. I really appreciate you taking the time and
Mhm.
helping us understand a little bit more about that certification process.
Okay.
And so I wish you a happy 2021, and we'll be in touch and hope to hear from you again sometime.
Okay. Thank you,
All
Debbie.
right. Thank you. Bye.